Hey guys, before we get started here, I just want to let you know there's a lot of adult themes, including drug use, criminal activity, and very, very coarse language. We've edited most of it, but it's there. So at any rate, viewer discretion is advised.
So you stand on this cliff, yeah, and you're in this suit, and it's just lightweight material, and you have this rig on. It's a base rig, right? And this suit is really restrictive. Like, it's kind of scary because I can't put my arms over my head. So like if I hit, no, my arm's like stuck right here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so obviously because it's like a straight jacket, huh? So like if I die, like if you were to hit the ground, like instinctively you'd put your hands out in front of you. I can't. The first thing that's hitting that ground is my face.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Backcountry Manifesto podcast, brought to you by Sharedport. I'm your buddy out west, Hayden Samac, and today on the show, we have kind of like a departure from what we normally do, sort of. Our guest is a psychopath, and he wouldn't mind me saying that. Our guest is Jamie Leibert, aka Captain Manicorn, and he is a wingsuit flyer. And if that wasn't kind of wild enough for you, wait till you meet Jamie. He is a wild guy. Jamie has what some might call it sort of checkered past. He was a drug addict. He was a criminal. And this is all stuff that he'll tell you too. And he ended up spending 4 years in prison. After he got out of prison, he found a new purpose through air sports. And today he is one of the, I guess, most traveling, most prolific, is that like a thing, base jumpers in the world. Currently, he's base jumped in over 135 countries, or he's done air sports in 135 countries. That's what he would want me to say. I got you, Jamie. And his goal is to do it in every country in the world. He's a really interesting guy. You're going to like this episode. One last warning, if you have kids, maybe this is not the episode for them to listen to. There's a lot of cussing, but without further ado, our pal, Jamie Leibert.
You had an unconventional life pretty early.
So my parents were 18 and my mom was 17 when they had me. And they were into rock and roll. Dad was into, they were into drugs, running with the Hells Angels, building hot rods. It was, we're from San Fernando Valley. So it was a different era. Let's just say you could build a drag car, go get in fights, outrun the cops. There wasn't this technology. So it was a different generation. So they passed me off to my grandparents. They passed me off to my aunt and uncles on my mom's side. Sorry, I have a stuffy nose. I've been sick for, it's all great on camera. So they passed me off to all my family. So it was like raised by a village. And then what happened, I think, so there was definitely abuse, some alcoholism at home. And so it didn't work out with me, with my parents. And I was raised by my grandparents. So I figured out how to manipulate the whole family to basically my parents be the bad people. Yeah. And then my grandparents took me, my uncles took me from my family, my mom and dad. And then I got put into a group home. And that's when it just went sideways. Cause I couldn't figure out why. Like now all of a sudden my uncles,
how old
11.
Were you? 11.
So my uncle's having a kid. My parents had another kid. So all of a sudden I went from being the only child in this huge family to everybody having kids and like all of a sudden I'm forgotten. So I was like, well, you're not going to fucking forget about me. Let me light some fires. Yeah. And so obviously you like, stereotypical, you what is that called? You just act out. Yeah. You want attention. So then I'm moving schools. I'm going to different grandparents. I'm going through, you're exploring sexuality. You're doing all these different things, but I'm doing it in an environment where you have 50 other kids that are just as fucked up as you. So you're not getting the same social as like, you are a kid, you wake up, you say hi to mom and dad, you have breakfast, you go to school, maybe you have friends, maybe you're popular, not popular, whatever. But you're okay. Then you go home. This is before social media, at least, right? So if you were getting bullied, at least it was just getting bullied at school.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you went home and it stopped.
Yeah. The ass beating stopped at school. So then you went home and then it was like, maybe you do homework and all this, but mine was just chaos. It was like, like you're in a group home, you wake up with all these other kids, there's chaos. Everyone has their own fucking drama. And then you're going to school, you're the different outcast because you're in a group home. So everybody knows because you're getting dropped off in this short bus or this white van. Yeah. And so everybody knows that you're different. Yeah. So then you wear that on your sleeve, so then when you approach it, it's different, right? So I was quite bullied until this school I went to called Cleveland, which is in the Valley, and something changed. And it was like the first day I showed up and I was like, that, like, this is a fresh start, a fresh school. I was like, bring it, let's do this. And that was the mentality. So I went from like being like passive, being bullied, to where someone said something to me, I just smack them in the mouth. I was tired of like being punked because I grew up in a town called Blythe, where most of the families are families of inmates. My father's a lieutenant at Ironwood State Prison. Yeah. So most of the families were Mexican or black, whatever. Yeah. And they essentially would want to start fights with this white kid because, my father was a guard over them. So they'd be angry. They thought that they were going to earn stripes or whatever by attacking me. So you learn quite, at a young age, what's up? So I got expelled from that district, putting someone's face into a water fountain who was trying to bully me. Right. So it just kept progressing. I kept getting kicked out of these schools. Then Cleveland, it just changed. I met a cool friend. I met a bunch of girls. I became like the popular kid for once in my life, right? So I switched from like this kid who was bullied, cocooned, but then it became about drugs. So then it went from like, like stability, then to Grand Theft Auto, to progression, to rock climbing, to...
It's funny. I got into Grand Theft Auto before I got into rock climbing too.
Yeah. But you're talking about the video game?
No. I'm just teasing.
No. Which one came first? Yeah, Grand Theft Auto. I actually stole cars before I started rock climbing. Yeah. So ironically, I stole my own car, but it was in my grandfather's name. Got into a high-speed chase because I had this chick in the car. I didn't want her parents to find out. We had a bag of shrooms and a bunch of cash on us. And I made a left-hand illegal turn. And just as I did it, I saw the cops. And sure enough, he hits the lights. And I just, instead of like what most rational people would do is hit the brakes, like, all right, you got me. Like that was that fight or flight, and I hit the pedal. Like, let's go. At 17 years old, I was like, boom, smoking tires. Made this right hand turn, sideswiped like 3 cars. Bam, bam, bam. Got to the end of the street. It was a dead end. I'm like, I'm out. So I started running, but the chick that I was with was like in a full panic. I don't know why. And I'm grabbing her.
I could imagine why.
So I'm grabbing her by the hair, like yanking her out. Like we need to go. Yeah. And so we're a full foot chase, running, hiding, and the helicopters are out and all this different stuff. But this dumb kid left the keys in the ignition, so I couldn't even report it stolen. So sure enough, like as I'm going to my grandparents, like all the cops are there already. So I'm sitting on top of a church watching the car get towed. I can't go home, so we end up going back to her house. And her father was a lawyer. So he's like, we're going to try to put you in an insane asylum, because I was a lot of hallucinogenics and drugs. Yeah. I went there, told them that was going on, and they're like, nope, sorry, you're not crazy enough. And I'm like, come on, do you not see this? And so my grandfather makes me go, my uncle, they make me go to court or to the police station. They're like, we need the car back, right? Because it was groceries in. So I go back and they're like, so he's like, don't you ever watch Cops? The criminals never get away. And I was like, well, I did. And they over the counter grabbed me. This is LAPD, right? So over the counter grabbed me, slammed my face into the ground, knocked me out. I wake up in jail. So that was like my intro to crime. And then it just progressed from there. So that was my childhood in a nutshell. Speed note.
So I had this... you end up getting into kind of extreme criminal activity, but also extreme sports at around like the same time. You're doing
I have multiple lives.
Eventually you move on to rock climbing.
No, like you live in multiple lives, right? So like, I don't know what you were like in school, but for me, I had there was Fred's at school.
Uh-huh.
And when you were at school, I wore this hat. You know, I was this kid. I was, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? But then I had this other group of people that were called the Venture Crew that were teaching me about rock climbing, right? And I wore a different hat because they weren't the same kind of people. They came from money, a little, white privilege for sure, right? So I had to learn to wear a different hat to blend in, right? Because I was a street kid. Grew up in group homes, and like that was my environment. But now I'm hanging out with sophisticated lawyers and ridiculous people, and all of a sudden I had to learn. That's how I learned how to like navigate through the world. Like I had to put away that. And how do you take somebody who has my background and then now engage with doctors or lawyers? So my uncle was in the medical industry, so I started I had different hats. Like climbing people are a lot different. Like you don't go out to Stony Point where I grew up climbing and do these drugs or like do what we were doing. It was like you were there to climb, to do physical activities. So I had like this hidden life of wanting to do sports, but I couldn't so people at school didn't climb back then. There was no climbing gyms. So it wasn't like you
didn't have an accessible outlet for it.
Well, I mean, I had to take the bus. Yeah. I was poor, right? I was living at my grandparents, so grandma and grandpa didn't
let you take the car after that?
No, it's safe to say that I lost that ability. I had to rebuild it. I did. But I would take the bus to climb every day, 7 days a week. That was the reality. But after that, I got kicked out. I had to go back to my parents' house, and then I lived on the streets after that. So I never had like a single. Even now, I don't have one. There's who you want to be, and then who the world perceives you to be. Right. So when I'm by myself with my dogs walking around, you're who you really are. But when you're around other people, you're judged because that's who they perceive you to be. So when you're climbing or doing these sports, it's who you are, because you can't wear that fake hat when you're about to jump off a cliff. You can't wear a fake hat in prison. Like you just have to. Those are like my wife and I say. There's there's a situation that creates before and after. Rock climbing was a situation where there was me before I rock climbed, and then there was me after I rock climbed. There was me before prison, and there's me after prison. There's me before base jump. There's these shifts in what I don't know what you would call it, but so the group home was one. That was the first thing that me up. Second one was high school. I can pinpoint it. Third one was finding meth at 23, or climbing and then finding meth, and then prison. So you did not land in prison because of this Grand Theft Auto thing. You landed in prison for another. What happened? So I've been thinking about that for 15 years because I went in when I'm 24. I'm 42 now.
What were the charges?
So it was felon in possession of a firearm and possession of stolen mail. In that charge, in Las Vegas, it was possession of narcotics, and Grand Theft Auto in California. And then I was wanted in the feds nationally for robbing the post offices. So the final conviction that I got sentenced 5 years for was felon in possession of firearms and then possession of stolen mail. Between group homes, jails, rehabs, county, and that which led to prison, it was plus 3 years of parole. I was in the system for 14 years of my life.
Do you think of that as like kind of a pivot? Like, AD or BCAD?
I wish I could say yes, but
what happened when you got out?
That would be a lie. Because if it truly was a pivotal point that scared me so bad, then I wouldn't have done cocaine since then. I wouldn't have tried, shooting meth at Burning Man. I wouldn't have done these things that I know lead to that certain
that can lead you back to where you were.
Death.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to survive the next round in prison. I had to get away from it. And so something had to change. And it all was because of a therapist that I saw in prison for like 18 months of my term there. And I saw him out. So it wasn't like I could tell you that if you go to prison, you're going to heal, you're going to get out, there's opportunity. That was the pivotal moment in my entire life So everything else is substantial, right?
When you decided to seek out the therapist?
Yeah. The day I accepted that I was broken, man, I really fought in the beginning, because I'll summarize his whole thing was, if you want to succeed, you have to kill the old you. So he said to me, you can't have your old life and this new life that you desire. So what happened was I was diagnosed bipolar. I was depressed. I was ADHD. We could just start listing off other letters I'm sure that they were diagnosing me with, right? And so he's like, I want to put you through the test. I want to see your IQ. It's never been tested before. Cause I dropped out of high school, got my GED. So that was the only credential I had on my educational level, right? So he spends, it was like 6 months doing tests and Rorschach, every kind of test you can imagine. We're meeting twice a week. And essentially I walk in one day and he's like, the results are in. And he's like, sit down, this is, I'm like, yeah, man, I know I'm like writing's on the wall, doc, and he's like, so I have some really like disturbing news for you that you're not going to like. And he goes, there's nothing wrong with you. He goes, you're smart. He goes, your pattern recognition is like 97 percentile. Like, you have some amazing abilities. You're not bipolar. You don't have depression. You might have hyperactive disorder. He goes, but there is nothing wrong with you. Now, my whole life, I've been told there was something wrong with me. So I use that as a crutch. Like, if you get in trouble, it's, because I'm this. So all of a sudden you're just sitting there and what you thought you knew at 27 years old, your entire life, this doctor just said, no, you did those actions because you chose to, not because there's something wrong with you. And any decision you make moving forward will be your own will, not because of a disability. And that one really f***ed me up. I was like, wait a minute. And like, I sat there, I just remember, I'm like, so I think I said out loud, I'm like, so what you're saying is I'm accountable for my actions?
Imagine. Imagine. Well, he took away your excuse, man.
Yeah.
He took away your excuse. Now it's like,
no, he pulled the tablecloth out of my entire life, like dishes flying everywhere. My mind was like, wah. And I was like, and I just remember saying, and I was just like, oh, what would I do? What do I do moving forward? Like I was just, it was like okay, like eyes watering up, like sitting in there going like, oh man. But so he said, so what we're going to do is, I don't think that you ever were taught how to learn, right? Because of the ADHD, because of the group homes, because of all these diagnoses, the Ritalin, all these different things.
It's really not an easy environment to like grow up in. That's I get it. Like, I get what he's saying, but on like the flip side, man, like people are products of their environments, homie. And like,
yeah, I get it, but nobody.
You weren't lined up to like.
Yeah, but get past all that, because that's just a crutch even now, right? So
yeah, for sure.
The reality is the world doesn't give a
yeah,
and they never will, of what I had to overcome.
Yeah.
The reality is that I
think the world is interested a little bit.
Yeah, of course, it's a cool story, huh? I know that. But that's why I'm positive about it now, because look back at this awesome adventure I had. Like, you can't make this shit up. Like, we're sitting here in this epic room in Montana doing this podcast about wingsuiting, and
well, so far it's been about jail, but yeah.
Well, what's ironic is the most important tattoos I have are actually, it says never forget. So when you're like stressed out, you put your hands up, and it was like, never forget where I came from. So this doctor said to me, he goes, I don't think you know how to learn. Because ADHD, you're ADD, right? So we don't know how to learn because
violently,
yeah, violently, right? Exactly. But we don't know how to learn. Like, I can't pick up a math book and listen to this teacher, blah, 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 and then go home and give me some homework. And I'm like, yeah, go yourself. Like, we're gonna smoke some weed, right? Because that's much more comfortable for me than this. And so now this doctor's like, here's what I want you to do. You're gonna go back to your cell, and today you're gonna sit down for 1 minute, and I want you to read. Right. And I want you to, tomorrow you're going to do 2 minutes. So I have years.
And this is in prison.
Yeah, this is in prison.
Okay, cool. Cause I was a little bit confused. I thought you were seeing somebody outside.
No, same therapist in prison.
Got you.
So essentially I got up to like, I would have to start over. So I would get to like 30 minutes and lose focus. And he'd be like, start over, relax.
Okay.
So I'd start the whole process again, and I had to focus. I got up to an hour, and he goes, people don't need to ever focus more than an hour. Your mind can only handle doing something for an hour before you get distracted anyways. So because he had said about the pattern recognition, I actually got into the stock market, and I found out with Pablo, my partner, that I was actually really good at reading trends and reading stocks. And I could actually do from the analytical point of it. I was really good at this. So now I had something I was proud of. So single-handedly, he gave me the gift of accountability and told me I was good at something that wasn't drugs or violence or sports. Mm-hmm. So now I'm reading books about the stock market and from the technical analysis kind of point. And I'm working out like a beast, and I'm starting to make this transition. And you're making a transition like it's like, it would be like a lion becoming a vegetarian, right? That's how hard of a transition this would be. Like it needs.
You're shifting your identity.
In an environment where I'm surrounded by nothing but prey, So it was hard. I kept going back to the shoe. I kept slipping, making mistakes. But his goal was that I wasn't going to get it right this time. But if I keep this mindset that over years, he told me it's going to take you years, that I would eventually stop when I was presented with an opportunity to make a decision, that I would hopefully start to make the correct one based off of practice of this. So just like I had learned to read, I had to relearn how to make good decisions. So I went from obviously this aggressive, violent criminal to all of a sudden helping dogs. And I'm in a relationship for 14 years now, and I'm a professional athlete, and I get paid to go around and do great adventures. And I think it's really started with like learning that even if we were like I think the best gift that humans have is the ability to change.
Sure.
I think it's our one gift that's like overlooked all the time. Like, you don't like your life today. You could literally get up right now, walk outside, make a conscious decision to change, and change your entire life. It's that simple. No, you love your life, right?
No, I do. My life, very pleased with it.
Right. So if you quit your last job and you started the podcast, like you said, you have the ability. And that's what that doctor gave me. And I had to go to like I said, I had to go to the darkest place to learn all of these things, which are, I think, my best gift now, which is ironic because in society, I don't see people that have had the best lives in the world have these tools. And I'm mind blown on that one. Right. So
let's talk about what you did afterwards. You said professional athlete. And you are a professional athlete, but you're not like a baseball player. You're not a basketball player.
Okay, let me rephrase this. I'm a broke athlete.
Okay,
so that's the thing. We do extreme sports, yeah. So those guys make money.
Yeah.
We just make YouTube videos. No, yeah. But that's what. But more people watch us than they do them. No, that's what's amazing.
Well, tell me, man, how you got into. Okay, so you leave prison. Explain how you first got into air sports and why you first got into air sports, dude. Like, what was that thing where you're just like, oh, I'm going to start jumping out of planes? Were you looking for like some sort of like
this guy right here, or he's part of it. His name's right here. Where's John Long?
John Long wrote the foreword to this. What Jamie's looking at, folks, is Rick Akamozo's book, Tobin.
Which one, this one?
Yeah, whichever one. Tobin, the Stone Masters and Me, and it's a memoir that Rick Akamozo, one of the original Stone Masters, wrote about his time climbing Yosemite and mountaineering / like ice climbing / just like techie shit in Europe, and it's about particularly Tobin Sorensen. So we'll put a link in the in the description down here. I think you can still order copies of the book. I know they did a limited run of it. So if you guys out there in listener land want to read Rick's book, I know we talked about it on a podcast already, but I'm plugging it again for you, Rick, man. You were a good guest.
That was a flawless plug. That was good. No, so he was also a big wall climber.
John Long, this is.
Yeah. And he wrote there was a drug deal, I think, that would happen. Like a plane had crashed and it was carrying a bunch of weed.
We have a whole we have a whole podcast on that subject with John Long. And if you guys want to hear that podcast, right below Rick's book, we're gonna have a link to that one.
It's almost like this whole community is tied together somehow.
Oh yeah, it's weird.
And so he what was it called? It was Sylvester Stallone. It was
Cliffhanger.
And this was like the first real, I mean, granted, as a climber now, it's absolute garbage. Like the betrayal of the climbing obviously is terrible, but
it's kitschy.
But be a 12-year-old kid or however old I was at the time, like this is Sylvester, this is Rambo, homie, hanging, people off of his arm and climbing. And there's, the plane and the money and all that. So during it, there's these two bros, absolute skier bums, like, I don't even know who the jumpers were. I'd like to see who they used back then, but they basically base jump off this cliff, and my mind popped in that moment. I was like, "Wait, what?" Like, because every kid likes to jump off the roof with an umbrella, land on a bed. I jumped off 2-story roofs my whole life into pools and flips and things like that. I'm sure every kid did that, right? And all of a sudden now there's these dudes jumping off a mountain. But then it gets filed away. Like you don't think about it for years. So then when I got out of prison, I went skydiving, and I was like, whoa, this is the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. And then I was like, hey, Cody, which is my brother at the time, he was turning 18. So for his 18th birthday, I was like, we need to go do another tandem. And so we took him for a tandem, and he was like, whoa. And I was like, yeah. Because we were motocross racers and stuff like this. So for us, this was like a whole new world, because we were used to dirt bikes or downhill bikes or some kind of machinery or, climbing or something like that. Right. And now all of a sudden these dudes are just jumping out of an airplane. So that was 13 years ago. I did my first jump 13 or 14 years, 14 years ago. So right when I met Sandra, I've been with her for 15. We were together about a year. So 14 years I've been in air sports. Jesus. And it was on. It was like I literally knew that was the direction. But I wanted to wingsuit from day one. It was probably a YouTube video or something. I had saw these guys flying through the mountains with these suits on, and I was like, "That's rad." And then it was, I actually one of my AFF, which is accelerated free fall, was this guy Matt Blank, who's a legend in our sport. He was my AFF instructor, and he's super calm. He's very calm. And he's like, so what do you hear? Why do you want to skydive, Jamie? And I'm like, oh, wingsuit base jump. He's like, whoa, whoa. whoa. It could definitely do this, but there's a couple things we need to do first.
Yeah.
So it's safe to say that I had rushed this whole progression. Like I only had like 75 skydives when I got to base jumping.
Really?
Yeah. Which doesn't matter now. But back then, like everybody in the DZ was highly against it. You should have 200 jumps, and there's reasons why drop zone. Like, so it's like first rule of Fight Club is
okay.
There's no Fight
hold
Club.
On. Let's talk about some terminology. Let's talk, what does base stand for?
So you have buildings, antennas, structures, earth, span. So it's a span, whatever, or a span is any bridge.
Sure.
So, and then you have E, which is earth. So it has to be one of those things to technically be a base jump. I disagree with that. Because anytime I'm wearing my base rig and I don't have a reserve, I feel like I'm base jumping, whether it's out of a paraglider or whatever it is. So essentially, skydiving is out of an airplane or even a higher balloon or any moving craft where you have a reserve. It means that if I pull my main and shit goes wrong, I have another handle here, like we call the ocean handle. I can pull this handle, it will cut away this bullshit, and then another one pops out that's spring loaded, and it's like a 7-cell canopy that's designed to open better. So that's skydiving. Base jumping is a different technology. Obviously, it started with skydive gear back in this. There's a movie called Superman or whatever the movie's called, where these guys were the original OGs of the sport, and they were using skydive rigs with skydive canopies, just packing it differently to open differently, with taking it away when it doesn't matter. It's too technical. Nobody cares.
Dude, I get the same way with
yeah, it doesn't matter. So base jumping is essentially like the progression is, and most people jump off of a bridge first, right? So you go to this place, and it's in Idaho.
Yeah. It's
called the Prime Bridge, is where I took my course.
There's a school there, Base with Bobs. Base with the Bobs.
Yeah. So his name is Scotty Bob. He's a legend.
I emailed him. He didn't get back to me.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a busy guy.
Well, I figured, you know what? Because I emailed him during the summer, and that's when the majority of the stuff was that's obviously when you do that kind of course in Idaho.
Yeah.
So
you want to do the course? Or you want him on the show?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was going to see if he'd be on the show too. We like to talk to big host of folks, and I wanted to talk to base jumpers in particular.
Yeah,
so,
he's a pioneer in our sport for sure. He was there through the beginning when I was learning, and we all grew up together. And he was already a wingsuit proximity flyer when I was just getting into the sport. So it only makes sense now that he has a school. But it's a small community, man. Like, we all know each other, so it's base jumping was a smaller sport. And then if you take it a step further, now you have wingsuit base jumping, which is, for most people, it's the goal, because you have progression. You have like base jumping without a suit. Then you can wear like a tracking suit, which has range of motion. And some people stay with that forever. Then you have these suits now that are like mono suits. They're just really big, but you still have control of your hands. Mm-hmm. The moment they take away the restriction on your hand, where we are now holding a wing, is when it's technically a wing suit, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what everybody's typically going for. You need 200 skydives before you can put a wingsuit on in the sky. Mm-hmm. And I had started base jumping with 75 jumps, but then I had moved to Florida, started that business, made a bunch of money, invested all my money in learning. So I had like, when I think I started wingsuiting, I had like 1,500 wingsuit jumps. So that part was cool. So
wait, when you started wingsuiting, like proximity based, like wingsuiting?
No, nobody starts. So nobody starts proximity. So proximity is another discipline within the sport.
Oh, you know what? I'm calling proximity. When I say proximity base jumping, I'm just talking about wingsuit base jumping.
No, that's not to us.
Right.
I do proximity wingsuiting sometimes. And so wingsuiting, like, so you have some people that just go to a mountain and they can jump off, and their goal is to fly a beautiful line along the mountain, right? And they're not like trying to get so close to the ground. They're just, they're flying. Not many people do that, but there are some. A proximity pilot is somebody who has knowledge and experience. And our goal is to fly like the perfect line, to jump from the cliff, and then to fly at a maximum speed as close as we can to the ground. And that's proximity flying. And most of them are dead. Like, that's literally, I think they say that like wingsuit proximity and, mountaineering over 8,000 meter summits are the two most deadliest sports.
Yeah. Well, you combine both of those, and we're going to talk about that right when we come back. Hopefully there's a word from our sponsors, and it's not just me going, oh, please join our Patreon subscription, although that could very well happen. So we're going to cut to an ad. Producer Andrew, we will be right back. We're going to talk about the projects that Jamie, Captain Manicorn, has going on right now. Hey guys, this is Ad Hayden coming to you, or I guess semi-Ad Hayden. We had a whole bunch of ad copy written up, but I don't think I need it for this product. I just want to tell you about something that I like genuinely. That's sharedpour.com. Sharedpour.com is the place to go, in my humble opinion, if you're looking for hard-to-find bourbons, allocated whiskeys. I know that those two are sometimes the same thing, or just spirits in general. I've been using them since way before we even considered being partners with him. Actually, since before, Andrew, I think, when did we start recording episodes for this? Yeah, like since before we recorded the first episode of Backcountry Manifesto. And here's the receipts to prove it. You see this bottle of Mammoth from our bourbon? That's a single barrel select right there. Now check this out. Here, you can hear it too if you're listening. Right, is that gonna be in frame, Andrew? Okay, well right here, I don't know. There's my receipt from March of 2024. I really do use these people. I believe in them as a company. They're great folks. Now, if you're 21 or older, that is very important. If you're a minor, pay no attention to this advertisement. And you live in the United States, sharedpour.com will ship liquor straight to your doorstep. You'll need a signature, but they'll do it with flat rate shipping, which is really helpful if you're ordering a couple bottles. That way you don't pay out the nose through shipping. You could order 10, 15 bottles. I don't know, maybe Craig, don't get mad at me. And they will ship for the same price as one. The other thing is that they're customer service experts. If you call them, should you have a problem with your order, and you won't, you will get a person who actually works there answering the phone and making the issue right. They have the best selection, whether it's a single barrel pick, again, a hard to find allocated bourbon, or even your daily sipper. You should check out sharedpour.com. And right now, and that is ad speak, you can use code BACKCOUNTRY. Okay. That's Backcountry, all one word, all caps. I think that's important. That's what they were texting me and telling me was important. You will get 10% off your entire purchase at sharedport.com. Go check them out. You'll like them as much as I do. You'll get a bunch of cool whiskey. You'll impress your friends. You'll annoy your spouse. And you'll have some great spirits. Backcountry for 10% off your order at sharedport.com. Welcome back. We brought the dogs back in. Hopefully they're going to be. This is Weller's first time co-hosting.
He's doing really well.
Yeah,
he's better than you already.
You know, people do like him a lot better.
If you just shut up and let your dog just be on camera silent, this show would be a success. It's not until we open our mouths we ruin everything.
You know, I try to do that. I try and leave the talking mostly to the guests, and Boone interjects occasionally.
What do you think?
But
what do you think?
So let's talk. We've defined what base jumping is. We've talked about wingsuiting. We've talked about how people can wingsuit, in a skydiving scenario. We've talked about how people can wingsuit in a base jumping scenario. And specifically, we've alluded to proximity wingsuiting.
Basically, I don't even like the sport.
Why?
Man, it's like the coolest sport in the world, but it's also the stupidest sport in the world. Like, it makes no sense. Like, we're jumping off of a cliff. For what reason? Like, sure, sometimes it's for us. A lot of the times it's for social networks or why, or it's pure, we want to look cool to our friends. Like, I mean, I think the real gangsters are the guys out there that are posting, doing this stuff and just not posting it, that are I'm not one of them. I make a living from posting my content, but we have no corporate sponsors or anything like that. But I think that the reason I got into it was because it was either this or go back to drugs.
Yeah.
And ironically, I did go back to drugs first for a couple of years. Within this whole window of being out, they have these boogies that we're talking about,
Oh, so yeah, that's an interesting thing. You were talking about a drop zone first. So what is a drop zone, real quick?
So a drop zone is where you go, like for normal people, it would be where you go do a tandem, like where you go to a skydive operation and you go do a tandem. For other fun jumpers, people that have their licenses, we go there and we can pay $25 to get a. Yeah, I'm with you. I understand. You pay $25 and you get a ride up to 13,000 feet with your homies, and you jump out and you do cool shit. So a boogie is basically everybody from this drop zone and other surrounding
all the
drop
regulars.
zones. All the fun jumpers.
Yeah.
We just throw a massive party, and the theme of the party is usually to come there to organize skydiving, to get together, to try things that you normally wouldn't be able to do. They bring in really good people for different disciplines, and you get to excel at learn different things and try
maybe like this is when somebody takes their first like skydiving wingsuit.
No, this is more like a Scotty Bob is organized. Like the Scotty Bob is organizing during this boogie, so it brings people in, and he gets to work with everybody and give them tips and advice that are already wingsuiters. It's just it's in a situation for us to bring in the best, to be able to play with the best.
It's almost like a fun like workshop clinic.
Workshop, perfect.
Yeah,
cool. But this workshop has a lot of drugs at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. Like there's more alcohol, more cocaine, more not meth, but more like Coke, Molly.
And also we use Scotty Bob as a hypothetical. We're not saying that Scotty Bob like does this kind of.
No, not at all. Yeah, no.
I just want to clarify that for like everybody out, and then I'll listen.
Not at all. He's a beautiful human being. I was giving him credit for saying that they would bring in the best to teach people.
Yeah.
And then we
I just don't want to confuse anybody.
Stop that subject and then move on to the
these
rest
boogies.
of it.
Yeah.
So essentially then after everybody's done skydiving, we all just do a massive amount of drugs together. And this is whether you're the best in the world, whether you're a Red Bull athlete, whether you're the new kid on the block, everybody's just getting as f***ed up as you possibly can. And this is going on in almost all summer. You could do this every weekend for an entire year.
Yeah, because you said that they were having them kind of like all across.
Well, yeah, there's a summer somewhere in the world, right?
Yeah.
So you could chase the world. We go to islands and do this. We go to, like literally down in Panama, you do this. One day you're jumping off buildings at night on a drop zone, or skydiving over islands, doing cocaine with locals. this is like a normal culture. And so while I was making all of this money from our run, I was also, like my mentality.
When you say a run, that was the business that you started, was kind of putting on these like runs.
The festivals. So of course I'm the kind of drug addict that like, I don't go buy a gram. I'm like, yo, like, what do you got in your pocket? I'll take it all. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and you're like, so you build a reputation in the sport, right? It's a small community. So all of a sudden, like, I'm working.
You're Jamie Party.
Well, but that's the up part, because I wasn't so much, because I was really working. I was throwing a successful company. But when I would go to these boogies, I wanted to shut off. But if all these people, that what happens is if they only see you at these boogies, then they're going to associate you with doing drugs. But I'm running two different companies. I'm running a nonprofit that's giving back to children and doing really cool shit. I'm also running a for-profit company that's making millions of dollars. So I'm touring the United States doing a 23, you were an artist. So I'm doing a 23 weekend tour, meaning like for 23 weeks of the year, I'm working like nonstop. I get off the plane Sunday night or Monday morning. I throw my duffel bag on the washing machine, do a load of laundry, take a shit, pack my bag again, and I'm back off to the next city to go throw another event, And in between all of this, I go to a party and I want to let loose. I have money in my pocket now, so I just
can.
Yeah, so I let loose. So I started all of a sudden getting this reputation as a drug addict, and all this. And I've always been a drug addict. It's my writings on the wall, guys. Obviously, I didn't go to prison because I was a good kid. So right, way to connect the dots, guys. I saw this happening, and it's ironic because I had money in my pocket, I had sponsors, and I'm gaining weight, and I'm getting aggressive, and I'm like really frustrated, and we can't figure it out, right? Like we have everything now, and I'm the most unhappy I've ever been in my life. Even worse than prison. Like I'm unhappy now at this point in my life, right? Because I thought that making money was going to make me happy. So like even $1 million in my account, I'm miserable. What's up with that? I got more coke, more whatever your dreams and of your like being a rock star, I was living them. And it was like, I wasn't happy. So that was like what we were talking about last night. Like, why are the richest people sometimes the most miserable people, right? Because you thought that success was going to create happiness, but I never worked on me. I just tried to fix superficially the situation financially. So I thought while I was in prison that this is what I wanted. I wanted to get out. I wanted to have a successful company. I wanted to go do these air sports, that everything was going to be cool, but then it wasn't. So now I'm broken again. Who am I? So 5 years ago, I got on a plane to Norway and I lied. I said I was coming back and I didn't. I called my wife and I said, hey, look, I explained to her, like, something's wrong. I can't do these. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be part of this company. I was part of the Team One Call, which is like a really cool team in Norway for air sports. And I was like, I'm happy here. I was like, I want to, like, I'm 30 at the time, 37. I was like, if we don't go now, if we don't give it everything we got now to try this dream, then we're never going to have a shot at it. Because as an athlete, obviously your body is your tool, and I'm getting older. So she moved to Europe. She agreed to come support it, and it took us years to figure out what Captain Manicorn was and all that. And then what happened was skydiving was so expensive that I couldn't afford it in Europe anymore, because like $47. So I missed wingsuiting. So I was doing air sports, paragliding, speed flying. That's where all the other sports blossomed from, all the other air sports. And then I got back to wingsuiting 2 years ago when we sailed to Norway on our own boat and did it. Something sparked again. And that's when wingsuiting became real for me. Like I stopped doing gainers. I stopped doing it, treating it like it was a stunt. And I started analyzing numbers. I started taking it serious. Everything I did was, reaching out to the Scotty Bobs of the world and asking them advice, or talking to the best in the world. Luckily, they're, on speed dial on my phone. And any one of those disciplines, I can work with the best. Yeah. So I do. And I took it seriously. And so that's when I think for the first time in my life, it became about being an athlete. And that's what I wanted to bring it full circle was. So you can still be an idiot skydiver or base jumper and do these drugs and party.
Yeah, you can be just into like chasing the scene.
You're not an athlete. Right. You're just going out with your homies and doing stunts, and you're trying to survive.
Yeah.
So I want to bring awareness to like the John Longs of the world, or Conrads, or whoever it is, that they made a conscious decision that this was going to be their life to make them a better person. So you don't wingsuit for Instagram views anymore. You're now wingsuiting because if I don't do this, that darkness is what's pulling me back. So when I proximity fly, it's not being reckless. I'm not taking chance.
Let's talk about define proximity flying. Because, you know, I mean, you sort of did in your explanation of like how you started taking it seriously. What is proximity flying other than probably the most dangerous thing that you can do?
This is a good clip. Like to insert some, you can insert some of my videos right here while I'm talking. That'd be perfect.
They will be, if you're looking at the wide angle thing, they're going to be right here. If you're looking at that one, they're going to be like right here.
I'll just send you one. You can put them on the wall somewhere. I have one of my like first suits. It's like green. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. We would love to have a suit.
I mean, put on the ceiling or something like that.
That's so dope.
Yeah, I'll send it to you guys. Because it's just sitting in my dad's house doing nothing right now.
I would love that, man.
It would be part of that. So proximity, it's so easy to get distracted with me. And we're so ADD.
Oh, dude. You should see me and John Long talk, homie. Like, it's crazy.
So proximity is the, you notice, I don't know if you've noticed, I've done everything in my power to not talk about wingsuit base jumping. Yeah. I don't know why that is. It's just,
well, I don't know why.
I don't know why either. It's just maybe it's some self not deserving what I've accomplished or something internally. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud on camera right now, obviously. But I've literally in this interview tried to not, and I do it with my friends. I never talk about it in public. I don't ever bring it up. Like people, I never like, they're like, what do you do? I'm like, wingsuit base jumper, homie. Like to me, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's so special to me. Maybe that's what it is. I hope. But so
it's special to the point that it's almost private.
Why? I think that why some of us do it can be mistaken for recklessness by a society, where you
like death wish.
Maybe. I mean, ultimately, like why people watch MMA, like why do you want to see someone get wrecked? Like, wingsuiting, there's maybe a part of people that they think that we're going to crash or die.
That's not why I watch MMA, man. The reason that I watch MMA is because I think that it is the most pure expression of human athleticism.
Yeah. But it involves another human. Right.
Yeah. I mean, you need
so now take wingsuiting.
It's like that and mountaineering are to me are like the
right. So so different world. So yes, MMA involves another human. So it's not that pure because it's your success or failure is dependent on this individual. So I could feel good about what I did, but if I lose the fight, I'm not.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like when it's you against an element, you're taking like any sort of human mistake on a victory from a human mistake on another part out of it, right? Like some dude can drop their hand and get slapped. The mountain never drops its hands.
Well, it does the opposite. It's always swinging.
Yeah.
It's always fighting you. So wingsuit proximity is defined, proximity, right? Close to something. So I'll walk you through a jump, an average a jump. It's really cool. So we usually jump. That was a good fart right in my face.
Oh, Poon.
Yeah, it was a good boy. Yeah, you let it go.
That means he likes you, man.
I know. I'm relaxed too. I've been farting in your face. So you stand on this cliff, and you're in this suit, and it's just lightweight material, and you have this rig on. It's a base rig, right? And this suit is really restrictive. Like it's kind of scary. Because I can't put my arms over my head. So like if I hit, no, my arm's like stuck right here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So obviously, because it's like a straight jacket, huh? So like if I die, like if you were to hit the ground, like instinctively you would put your hands out in front of you. I can't. The first thing that's hitting that ground is my face, right? Because I'm in a suit and I can't raise my arms. Like I can go like this.
Yeah.
But that's it. So you're jumping off this cliff, right? And when you jump off a cliff, imagine, like you're trying to get this arc. And I'm trying to say this in layman's terms. So the arc is the funnest part because this is that dead air feeling, right? Like, so the arc is when you jump and and gravity's taking its effect and we're waiting for terminal velocity. Yep. But with a suit on, we're fighting that and we're actually trying to go forward. Mm-hmm. So we're waiting until our suits are inflating and we're trying to fly as fast as possible. And what proximity is when we start flying that, and let's say Boone is the ground here. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to find a line coming down. Like there might be trees, it might be rocks, it might be a gully, and I'm going to set up for this is in a good position, and I'm going to change my angle of attack, which is called the AOA, and I have a cord like pretend like your body is.
Yeah, it's the same thing with flying.
In narrow, exactly. So I have this. I'm going to change my AOA, and I'm going to dive. I'm going to aim over here, and hey, buddy, you're my rock. Okay.
You're my rock too.
You're my rock. And we're going to fly as close to Yeah. We're going to fly as close as we can to his leg for as long as we can before we pull out to go do this landing. So you're typically doing about 130 to 150 miles an hour, 2, 3 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet off the ground. I've made a living somehow doing it 15, 20 feet off the ground sometimes. And because what I've learned is that I never wanted to risk my life for videos when people don't really know the difference between 20 feet on a camera and 2 feet on a camera. So when we're filming, me flying 10 feet from this tree looks the same as when Scotty, I love you. You know, I love you. You're a legend. But when he fly his old videos, he would fly 2 feet from the ground, right? Like you just can't tell the difference. So there's like, what makes Scotty so cool is that all his friends are dead that he was wingsuit proximity flying with. Like he's of a different era. That's what I can never be part of their era. See, proximity flying was cool to these guys like Espen Fadeness, the Oki Summers. Like these guys were around when proximity was pioneering, and everybody wanted to be a proximity wingsuiter. And then what happened was in 2016, they all died in 1 year. Like really? the top athletes in the world, like everybody died, and it scared me. And these guys were like, you know, the Red Bulls and the best in the world. And all of a sudden they're impacting, they're hitting, they're making, you know, bad decisions. So the gear is perfect. Like they say 99% of all fatalities is from human error, like even airplanes or whatever it is. You know, I don't know the actual statistics. So proximity flying, we're pushing that envelope. We are literally, there's a point of diminishing return. You can't get it right every time. Sometimes there's wind that's coming up the valley. Sometimes there's wind that's going down the valley. It's all it takes. And
thermals and shit.
Yeah, right. Like, so sometimes it's all it takes in that you flew this line 10 times, but the conditions are just a little bit different today. And when you come around that corner and you're coming over that rock into that valley, you get a little downdraft behind you and you're dead.
Yeah.
It's just a simple mistake. Dean Potter, you know, there's all kinds, or, you know, these guys are legends. Right. And they just make stupid decisions like he did. Right. So all of these guys, like there's no situation, there's not one wingsuit fatality where you're like, that was, you know, like that was unavoidable. It was unavoidable every time. And it was never one thing that led to their death. It was a series of events. Maybe psychologically they were in a bad headspace when they went into it, or a lot of drugs, or they were pushing the envelope. So they're Chris Enchicroce was my mentor for paragliding. He has this really cool thing that says there's only two types of, 2 or 3. You have where you're learning and you're super safe. And then you're complacent. Then the steps phase 2 is you become complacent because you do something so often, so regular that you become complacent. And then step 3 is an injury. And so as an athlete, we're always in these 3 levels, right? You can't.
John Long says something similar about big wall climbing.
It is the same, right? And so any real athlete, we know that we're always, where are you at right now in the game, right? So wingsuiting, obviously the injury for us in our sport is death. There's no like bad day.
You don't like hurt yourself.
Yeah. There's no like falling off the wall, like taking a whipper.
All or nothing.
It really is in this sport. That's why it's so dangerous. So 8,000 meters, which I've never climbed one. Yeah. So it's on my list, but I've never done one. They say that because you're in the death zone, right? Again, so these people that are dying, the Hillary, all these guys that were legends in that sport, which is my other world that I live in, they all made stupid decisions, whether it was going up in bad weather or getting stuck in bad weather, knowing it, or maybe knowing that they had to take a team of people up there because they're getting paid. You know, and they're creating this environment, or a stupid decision to whatever it was like.
And if you guys want to hear more on stupid decisions on Mount Everest, you ought to check out our podcast with Tom Pollard. He goes through the 1924 expedition where George Mallory and Sandy Irvine lost their lives. That's been in the news kind of recently. And then additionally, he talks about the current state of Everest and all like the kind of high pressure.
It's ugly.
Yeah.
It's ugly.
It is.
You know, when I was a kid, that was my dream. I had a couple dreams. It was like, one was climb Mount Everest, 2 was climb El Cap. You know, these were like, as a young mountaineer, those are your aspiration to.
Have you hit El Cap yet?
No, I have never climbed it because I want to wingsuit it. I want to jump it. But guess what? It's illegal in America.
Tell us about that.
I don't know. The facts are, I don't know them, but essentially what What I'm aware of was that it was legal. Then they made it illegal. There was a day where they were trying to, I guess, do a demonstration. And of course, that day of the demonstration, a base jumper died with a no pole. It was a girl. And she was borrowed somebody's rigs to do this jump. Great jumper. Another stupid mistake. And now that's why base jumping is illegal in national forests. And I don't think we've ever recovered from it. And that was like 20 years ago, right? So that was so it's still illegal.
Yeah, but if you want to free solo it, you can make an Oscar-winning documentary.
You could free solo it. Yeah. Right. Alex, I mean, it's great, right? Like good for him. But so I was just in Zion and like, it's illegal. Like you could go solo there. You could do big wall. You could sit on the wall for days, but I can't jump there. Why? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. I pay the same taxes that person does. We're going to inconvenience our search and rescue. That's their job.
Yeah. Well, so what was your solution to that?
So I moved to Europe.
Yeah.
So I was able to go there to Norway to pick that whole thing back up. And I wanted to do air sports. And over there, it's legal. You can literally take a gondola to the top of a mountain. You could walk for 5 minutes and you could be at a base exit.
Yeah. That's what you call the spots that you jump off of, exits.
Yeah. Even if it's a building, it doesn't matter what it is. You're exiting.
Hey, what's with the see ya? Like why is
3,
the
2, 1 see ya?
Yeah. Why is that like the thing? Is that like a thing or is that just something I see on YouTube all the time?
No, because we're scared. I think it's psychologically so that we can count down because it forces us to go.
Yeah.
It also gives your partner to let them know you're going.
So you don't go 3, 2, 1, go. It's always see ya.
No, I don't say see ya.
Oh, well, I don't know. It seems like a lot of people do. I'm not saying you in particular. I guess maybe I am.
See ya, homie. No, I don't. 3, 2, 1. I don't say nothing. Yeah. I say 3. I one. I go on one. I'm there to go. Let's go. I'm not saying to see you. Nor I'm terrified up there, man. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to say on camera, like something like that. I say all that stuff when I land or when I get down. Base jumping terrifies me. It's such a beautiful sport. Yeah, saved my life. Obviously, there's no airplane, there's no noise. If you want to jump, now with the alpinism, let's move forward. Yeah. So now my current goal is Alpine base, right? Mm-hmm. So I was always a rock climber since I was obviously 17.
Yeah, we did some rock climbing yesterday.
Yeah, we did some rock climbing yesterday. And I just did 3 days of climbing in Zion with my brother. So I like climbing. I just like a bunch of crack climbing. I'm fortunate enough to be now in the community of Alpine base, which we are trying to do. Most of our jumps are very technical to get to. They take hours or days. We're hauling 40 pounds on our back. We have trad gear, ropes, crampons, ice axes. It's serious, man. And, I had one of the best years of my life. I accomplished, did Jungfrau Joch, which is in Switzerland. It's the world's longest wingsuit flight. I did Europe's highest.
How long is like a really long wingsuit flight?
It was like 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. And everybody that I was with, they got down there like, oh, my arms are wrecked. I could barely fly the last minute of it. And,
really?
Yeah. And I was like, you need to work out, motherfuckers. Yeah. It's like, so I was able to accomplish that. I was able to accomplish the Pillar de Feni, which is Europe's highest exit, which we summit Mount Blanc, and then we climb for another 8 hours after you climb Europe's tallest mountain. And it was super awesome. And we've done some really cool multi-pitch, 12-pitch, multi-pitch routes, and then wingsuited from stuff like that, where we're jumping down, what these climbers are climbing walls with, we're climbing it, but we have instead of just climbing it and having a haul bag, we have to wear these rigs on our back. So I'm usually climbing with an average of 15 extra pounds on my back. So imagine climbing for 8 hours, but every time you do a pull up, it's like wearing a vest with 15, 20, plus all the gear. So 30 pounds.
Yeah. You're heavy.
You're heavy. So then you've got like special suits now that have like pockets and stuff built into it to hold all my gear. It's super lightweight. It weighs like 1.2 kilos. I have lightweight base rig. And essentially I have my partner, Valentin, who's French.
You do a lot of videos with him. And also, just so everybody knows, you're going to be able to find links to Jamie's YouTube channel, their Instagram page. Him and his wife, Sandra, do a bunch of really, really amazing stuff. And they videotape pretty much all of it, man.
Get familiar.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the goal. So now we're, we literally, one of our last projects for this season finale of our show, we did the Europe's highest mountain. We knocked it out. We crushed it. And it was super sketchy, super dangerous, but it was like really rewarding. What was interesting about it was like most exits, what I've learned is that most exits are in a pretty controlled environment where they're like kind of flat and you can like push off kind of in a safe environment. All these Alpine exits are just f***ed up, and like you're wonky, like on rope, like trying to put wingsuits on, and that's just terrifying. Like you have like the worst cotton mouth, your heart's pounding out of your chest, and this is just like gearing up, like
You haven't even made
I haven't even took my gear, like the ropes off to stand on the edge yet. And it's like, it's so, you've just done something for maybe. Our last big one was 2 days, 23 hours of climbing straight, like climbing for 2 days straight. We did a really cool traverse, Gran Traverse, and we traversed the whole from the Italian, from the lift. We traversed all that mountain range, which is one of the most famous traverses in Europe. It was epic, but we did it with base rigs, which I don't think anybody's ever done before. So it was really cool. And this guy Valentin is just the most amazing human being in the world, even though he's French. Yeah, I love the French. I really do. They're such better athletes than we are. Their culture embraces them. They're rewarded. They have, they pay for kids to be on skydive teams, wind tunnels. Like they really encourage outdoor sports into their culture, which is what we don't do.
One of my first friends out here was this dude, Matthew. And he was he's super into climbing and super into ice climbing. He actually took a crazy fall and got really hurt. And he's like since recovered, he's like, you'd never know. But he doesn't climb that much anymore because of it. But he was a French dude who was super encouraged in like all those things. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're the
really
best.
Talented.
Yeah, they're the best. Like some of my heroes in the sport, they're mostly French. So these guys are just but they get to progress differently because like most Americans, if we want to go wingsuit base jumping, we have to go to Europe because we just don't have the areas to do it as current as often as they can. So most Americans only go to Europe for like 3 months, like this, they call it like the summer tour. But when you live there, it took me years. I finally met Valentin, and now all of a sudden he's taking me to the most beautiful destinations in the world. And somehow he works for the military, and he's a safety guy, teacher for the ropes access for the military cool. out there. Yeah. So, and then all of a sudden, he's, we're best friends on these great adventures together because of our, we have 100% success rate with any adventure that we've gone on so far. I'm super anal about weather. I'm technical about gear. I mean, we look at every aspect of what we do.
You're tuned.
Like there's no, we don't leave it to possibility. Like we know you're
dialed in.
Yeah. The whole route. Like we try to think through everything. We bring way more gear. We're protective. If we don't like the weather whatsoever, we can't even go on a project if the weather looks iffy because we're going to be at 15,000 feet when we exit and the weather is always rowdy up there. So we have to we say, okay, we looked at the weather, we study, we're looking for pressure systems, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, we need to be there in this window. We have a 2-hour window. It's going to take us 20 hours to get there if everything goes right. Let's give ourselves a 2-3 hour margin for this section. And then, it's then it's game on. Once that mindset with Valentin kicks in, for some reason, he's just a machine.
It just go.
Man, he's the leader. He's the captain of this team, right? And I don't have the skills. I have to rely on my just training, like running, working out. I work out 7 days a week. Like mentally, physically, I'm all into this game. So luckily I have him and I just put my head down, somehow get up there, and he puts me in some scary situations. And you can't cry to anybody. There's that's what alpinism and these guys that you're talking to, what makes them so cool is that they're all scared. I guarantee none of them, even Alex is scared. Like there's some points where you're like, fuck. But the thing about climbing is that you only have so many options. You can keep going, you can give up, or you can fall and die. So climbing is a lot like when he's free solo, these epic projects, he doesn't have a choice. Sure, he could call rescue, or obviously they're filming him. They have ropes and they can put him on a rope, whatever. So that's one choice. Or he just keeps putting that handhold there. So alpinism, mountaineering, and alpinism to me just means a faster version of mountaineering, light and fast. We're trying to move real quick. It's just about one step in front of the other. And like, that's how I think life is also similar to what we're doing, because if life, even no matter how fucked up it is, if we just keep taking that one step moving forward, like I learned all the way from prison, I just keep thinking the positive decision forward. Like every decision, even though I have a choice, it's easier to do this, but the consequences could f me. I'll take the harder route because one, we think it's more beautiful. So now we literally take a harder route because it's a better line. So life is the same way. Even if life is harder this way, but the line is better, it's worth it. So I literally took everything I learned in prison, and I'm now putting it into what I'm currently doing in the air sports world. And I don't have a big list of friends. I mean, I can literally name them. I have Valentin, Vasil, Oliver, Remy, my wife. You know, that's my fucking crew. And I do that on purpose because if you have a big crew, your friends are going to die in this game. Yeah. So I have the ability to watch Oliver. I literally, my best friend in the world, my adventure buddy. He'll be joining me like 2 days from now. We're going to be training down in California, doing some wingsuiting.
And where are you going?
From there, we're training because I'm going to Patagonia.
Yeah.
So I just bought a new Overlander, and then we're going to be leaving this Saturday, heading down to Patagonia for 4 or 5 months to see if we can put up some new routes and some new exits out there. Yeah. Yeah. Why? Because there's not a lot of information about the place. So if there's not a lot of information, that means it's ready to be explored. And if I can explore it, I'm in my happy place. Yeah.
Okay. So moving on, man, tell me about your trip to Patagonia that you're planning. What are like the big things you're trying to hit?
So Patagonia, the biggest thing is that we didn't want to spend another winter in Europe. We didn't want to be in the snow. We wanted to go to where there is summer. Yeah. So Patagonia is obviously part of like Argentina. And the goal is we bought a 4Runner, and we're going to go from living in a van. Before that, we lived in a boat. And we're basically going to have a tent, rooftop tent on this 4Runner, 4-wheel drive. And we're going to drive it as like, was it 2,500 miles south to the bottom of Argentina, because I want to go see the fjords down there. We're going to be soaring. We're going to be wingsuiting, paragliding, rock climbing, big wall climbing, alpinism.
Looking for new exits out there.
That is the goal of this project, to take everything that Valentin has taught me and be able to go do it on my own now. Because the goal after this is to go to Kyrgyzstan and go open some new exits out there, living off of horses for 4 or 5 months. So this is a progression for me to learn,
It's you and Sandra going down on this trip.
It's just Sandra and I. These guys will come out and visit me and do some projects, but ultimately it's just Sandra and I going down to explore and Journey, our dog. Okay. So she's the most important, right? So we're going to go down there. We don't know anything about their culture. We don't know. We have a Google Maps with like locations of fly sites and things like that. And what happens is usually I will start reaching out to networks out there, because it is a close network. I'll start reaching out to the paragliders, the skydivers, the base jumpers.
A lot of alpinism down there for sure.
Yeah. So I'll start reaching out to everybody, hopefully get into some circles and start to be able to do some cool projects. And we're going to try to film it in a way, a lot of our messages about addiction and recovery and incarceration. So we try to use those to catapult the message of positivity and change and all those cool things. So that's our big goal, is to go out there and do some really cool projects and share with the world.
That's awesome, man. How can people follow along with you? Pick a camera, make your pitch, man. Tell people, and we'll put all the links down in like the description. But give people your pitch. Tell them.
Here's my pitch. If you've how long is this podcast going to be?
129 minutes. So
it'll probably come down to about an hour and a half, hour 40.
So here's the reality, guys. If you've watched an hour and a half of us rant about absolute craziness, then you can just type into the internet, Captain Manicorn, and you will find it whatever social network it is you want to follow us on. That's up to you. But if you follow this log, thank you.
Yeah, they're on IG, Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah, of course. Just type
all the stuff. Captain Manicorn.
Yeah, just type it. Just say, hey, Siri, Captain Manicorn, and just magical shit will happen.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I love it, man. Thank you so much for coming on, dude. It's been a hoot, really. Crazy stories. Andrew's gonna have his hands full editing this. Sorry, Andrew's gonna have his hands full editing this. I have a swearing problem on the show anyhow. We're gonna have to put a disclaimer up at
They
the
say
top.
that people that use profanity are more honest, though, that we don't filter out what we say, that we just...
Well, that makes me feel good. At least there's that.
And octave raised pretty high when we said that for a moment.
Hey, we appreciate you guys so much tuning in. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, producer Andrew. Thank you, Boone, co-host, Weller, co-host, Junior. Thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, I don't know, we'll see you at a base jump exit or something. That was awesome, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's super.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of the Backcountry Manifesto podcast. If you want more Backcountry Manifesto, go ahead and check out one of these links right here. And make sure to share the podcast with your friends, comment, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. It really helps us out. Again, thank you very much for watching. Now go check out one of these things. I like this one. This one was a good episode, I promise.